Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video day. And today, the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in overtime 30-24, Super Bowl 55 rematch. And although this was a Super Bowl rematch from just 4 years ago, both teams look very different from what they did compared, now to Super Bowl 55. I mean, the Buccaneers look a little bit more different than the Chiefs do, but I mean, look, the Chiefs still had Tyreek Hill. DeAndre Hopkins wasn't on the Chiefs. Kareem Hunt wasn't on the Chiefs. So many other faces for the Kansas City Chiefs were not on there. I mean, obviously they still have the same quarterback. They still have the same star tight end. They still have the star defensive end in Chris Jones. I mean, one guy that's on the Chiefs Super Bowl team from Super Bowl 55 that was a really big part of those big, Chief years from the area of 2018 to 2022 in that kind of range. Frank Clark, not a Kansas City Chief anymore. But you look on the Tampa Bay side of things, it's a little bit more, it's a little bit more different. Tom Brady's not with the Bucs anymore. Rob Gronkowski is not on the Buccaneers even anymore. So many of those big defensive players that were such a big help for that defense that led Patrick Mahomes to only 9 points in the Super Bowl. And honestly, that's probably the worst game I've ever seen from Patrick Mahomes. And they made him look like a terrible quarterback. That defense, most of that defense is gone. There's still a couple players from that defense that are still on the team. I know that these two players are injured. They're still on the Bucs roster, but no Godwin or Mike Evans in this game tonight. Some of those, stud veteran running backs are gone, like Leonard Fournette. So both teams are a lot different than they were 4 years ago when we saw these two teams go up against each other in the Super Bowl in early 2021. So, yeah. But this was a crazy game tonight, and another game for the Chiefs where they win by a touchdown, 30-24, against a bad team. And I don't know how people will feel that I'm calling the Buccaneers a bad team. The Buccaneers are a solid team. They're 4-5. They got a solid record. The Buccaneers, when they are healthy, they are an above-average team. You got when Baker Mayfield's playing good football, and he's got Mike Evans and he's got Chris Godwin, and he doesn't have his top 3 wide receivers hurt, the Buccaneers are a threat to the Falcons to win the division, but they're not much more than that. Without their 3 top wide receivers and some other injuries on the board, and Baker Mayfield basically having no one to throw the football to besides Sterling Shepard and Kate Otten, which that's not much of anything when you have to go up against a defense like the Chiefs, this is a game where I'm sorry, and it's no hate on Patrick Mahomes because it's not really Patrick Mahomes' fault. He put up 30 points on the board tonight, threw almost 300 passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns. For once in Patrick Mahomes' season, I can't really blame this bad performance on him. But I look at the defense, which has really carried Patrick Mahomes through some wins this year, and I see it as a little bit of a disappointing performance, just a tiny bit. Just to me, I feel like this should be a win that, the Chiefs should win by multiple scores. They should be blowing out the Buccaneers. I know the Buccaneers have a good quarterback to keep them in the football game, but Baker shouldn't be leading multiple touchdown drives. 3 touchdown drives against a good Chiefs defense without his top 3 wide receivers. And that's what makes me not feel so confident in this Chiefs team. I like the Chiefs. I think as of right now, I think they're probably the best team in the AFC. I'd like to see how they would do against a Ravens team in the playoffs. I know, they beat them last year. I think the Ravens are a lot better than they were last year, so I'd like to see that rematch in the playoffs. Outside of that, there's no one really in the AFC outside the Ravens that I think is much of a threat to the Chiefs. But I look at a team like the Lions, and I don't even see that right now. I don't see the Chiefs as the best team in the NFL. I see the Lions as the best team in football. Maybe the Chiefs are number 2. Maybe the Chiefs are number 3. A lot of people see the Chiefs as the best team in football. To me, just because you have, an undefeated season right now doesn't mean you're the best team in football. I look at the Lions, who aren't very far off at 7-1, and I see when they go up against bad opponents or average opponents, they're blowing them through the water. Like, they beat Tennessee by almost 40 points. They beat the Dallas Cowboys by almost 40 points. Meanwhile, the Chiefs over here going up against the Raiders and Gardner Minshew only beat them by 7. Going up against the 4-4 Bucs without their top 3 wide receivers, get taken to overtime, only win by 6. And there have been many cases here where, the Chiefs beat the Saints by 13, and that's like one of their highest wins this year. 13 is not a bad win. You beat them by 13, 2-score win. But to beat at home, that was almost a month ago, a Monday Night Football itself. Just like this game was tonight. I know it's nice to get a 2-score win, but to me, that's another team they should be blowing out through the water. I think if you would see the Lions go up to the Saints, I think the Lions would probably beat them by 50. Or I don't know about 50, but by 20, in the 20s to 30s, maybe near 40 range. They do that to the Titans and the Cowboys. I think sure as hell do that against the Saints, especially if the Lions are at home. So I think the Chiefs are a good football team. They got a good defense most of the time, and they got a great quarterback. But they can't beat, or they can't. They can't blow out these bad teams that they're facing. It's very close games against bad teams. When I see other teams in the league that are going up against bad teams just like the Chiefs are, and they're blowing them out through the water. And I look at some other things with this Chiefs team. I think they're a great football team. I just I don't know what will happen when they get to the playoffs, and they'll get some competition, because there hasn't been much of competition besides the first game of the season, really. I mean, the first game of the season against the Ravens, I know that was a W. That was a good win. I think that's really the Chiefs' only good win of the season this year was Week 1, and that's Week 1. I mean, that's the Ravens getting, Derrick Henry into the offense for the first time. It's a new offense. It's a little bit crazy first game. I would love to see the Ravens and Chiefs go at it middle of the season or later in the season instead of Week 1. Obviously, we're not going to see that. If we're going to see those two teams face against each other again, it's going to be in the playoffs. But I think Week 1's not a great look back and say, the Chiefs beat the Ravens by 7, but that was Week 1. You could argue the Ravens are a way better football team than they were in Week 1, and you can look at the Kansas City Chiefs as well and say they're also probably possibly a better football team than they were in Week 1 too. Chiefs didn't look 100% great in Week 1. So you can look at both teams and say they weren't as good in Week 1 as they are now. So that's why I would like to see the Chiefs go up against the Ravens late in the postseason and see what happens, because I honestly don't think the Chiefs would beat the Ravens with their run attack and how they got it working now. And then all the other options Lamar has. Not to mention Lamar didn't have Deontay Johnson when, he didn't have Deontay Johnson when he went up against him. That's a new weapon for Lamar. And I think there are a couple other AFC teams that have a shot against Kansas City, but I will say they looked better tonight. It was a solid win, but just to me, I think Kansas City being a good football team, this is a win that you should have, and you have the win for sure, but this is a win that shouldn't. This should never been able. This should have not been settled in overtime for starters. And the Chiefs should have blown Tampa Bay out. It would be one thing if this was a game in Tampa. If this was in Tampa, I would say, all right, this wasn't the best game for the Chiefs, but it's a road game. Tampa has the edge at home. I understand how the Chiefs struggled a little bit here, but you got one of the best home crowds in football. You've won the Super Bowl the last 2 years. Even before that, I mean, you have some great fans who show up and make a lot of noise. You should not be seeing a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team without their top 3 wide receivers coming in and being that type of threat to you. I'm sorry. So, good win for the Chiefs, but they should have never been in the point where the Buccaneers were a threat to them, or where this game even was considered to go to overtime as it went to overtime. So, Chiefs win 30-24. Let's go over the scoring summary real quick. Harrison Butker with a 40-yard field goal for the first score, 3-0. First touchdown is a Rachaad White 7-yard touchdown run to make it 7-3. DeAndre Hopkins would have his first touchdown as a Chief. Patrick Mahomes was a 1-yard touchdown, 7-10. Cade Otton with an 11-yard touchdown. Baker Mayfield, 14-10. Jason McLaughlin with a 47-yard field goal, 17-10. Patrick Mahomes with a 7-yard touchdown pass to Samaje Perine, 17-17. And then how about this? Patrick Mahomes making some history for himself, or some, doing something for the first time in his career. 5-yard touchdown pass to DeAndre Hopkins, which is Hopkins' second touchdown of the game and second touchdown as a Chief. It's the first Patrick Mahomes touchdown ever, passing touchdown in the fourth quarter, tied. That's including playoffs. That's crazy that, obviously Patrick Mahomes has thrown a bunch of passing touchdowns, in the fourth quarter, whether that's winning or trailing, but that's the first touchdown pass in the fourth quarter for Mahomes when tied. And Mahomes has been playing since 2017, so that's nuts. But that gave the Chiefs the lead. Then Baker Mayfield throws a touchdown pass to Ryan Miller, and it's tied at 24. Chiefs go to overtime. Of course, you know what happens after that. Chiefs win the toss. Do the Bucs even see the ball? Nope. Kareem Hunt 2-yard touchdown run, 30-24, game over. That's how the game works. It sucks. I'm not just saying it because it's the Chiefs. This could have been 2 other teams. This could have been the freaking Jets and the Giants. All I care. I just threw out 2 random teams that I don't care about at all. This could have been 2 random teams. I'll say this all day. And it's gotten to the point where they have this rule now in the playoffs. They need to move this rule to the regular season as well. Even if the other team scores a touchdown, the other team should have a shot. If the NFL is gonna have it where that's the way it works in the postseason, I don't know why you just do that in the regular season as well. So honestly, I feel like that's a rule that eventually the next year or two, at the most 3 years, we most likely, I believe, if I had to make a prediction, we'll see that rule change. But not just because the Chiefs, although the Chiefs have had this happen many times. I just feel like the other team should get a shot in overtime. But I feel like one of the reasons why you don't see the NFL do this, maybe the NFL being concerned about ties. I don't want to see ties either. Here's how I think it would play out. If I was NFL commissioner, which I'll never be NFL commissioner, one of the biggest things I hate about the NFL is ties. I think ties are stupid. I would eliminate ties, kill ties. It's so stupid. So eliminate ties, imply the new rule, implant the new rule where the other team has a shot, even if the first team to get the ball scores a touchdown, and eliminate ties. I think that would be the perfect way to do it. I could see them doing the the other team gets a shot, even if the first team to get the ball scores a touchdown. I could see them doing that, but for some reason I don't see them eliminating ties, although I would absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. All right, let's go over some stats. Game leaders: Baker Mayfield, 23 for 31, 200 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. Great second half for Baker. I mean, he only had like 55 passing yards in the first half, threw for 145 in the second half. Great second half for the Baker man. 2 touchdowns in the second half as well. Patrick Mahomes is great the entire football game on the other end. 34 for 44, 291 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Rushing yards, Bucky Irving led the Bucs in rushing yards, 7 carries, 24 rushing yards. Meanwhile, the other end, Kareem Hunt, 27 carries, 106 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown for Kareem Hunt. Great game for him. Game-winning touchdown as well. Receiving yards, this was a big tight end day, and this is not surprising at all. The Chiefs really struggle when going up against tight ends. They are one of the worst defenses in the NFL when going up against tight ends specifically, and the Bucs struggle in that category as well. This is not a surprise. We saw what Kyle Pitts did last week against this Bucs defense. So, of course, Travis Kelce went out there and did his thing against this Bucs defense. I expected this to happen with what we saw last week against the Raiders, and not only with what we saw last week against the Raiders, but what we saw last week with the Bucs defense against Kyle Pitts. So I didn't expect. I did expect it to be a big game for Kelce, and I would have been shocked if it wasn't. 14 receptions, 100 receiving yards. But on the other end, I also expected it to be a big day for the Bucs tight end, Cade Otton, 8 receptions, 77 receiving yards, and a touchdown. On the other end, for the Bucs receiving and Chiefs receiving, even though both of the tight ends were the leaders, their other wide receivers, Sterling Shepard for the Bucs and DeAndre Hopkins for the Chiefs, had great days. Sterling Shepard had some unbelievable catches. Great job for him to step up in this game tonight without their top 3 wide receivers. 4 receptions, 48 receiving yards. And then on the other end, DeAndre Hopkins, 8 receptions, 86 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. Also Justin Watson, good game, 3 receptions, 43 receiving yards for the Chiefs. Let me know your thoughts on the win for the Kansas City Chiefs in overtime in the comment section, and peace out.